Hey, folks.
Here we go.
Here we go. And away we go.
All right.
Hello, everyone on Zoom, and welcome everyone in the room to our Spring 2024 Open Mic Night, which we do twice a year, spring and fall. Glad to have you folks with us again. This is our celebration of Phoenixville area local writing talent, of which we have plenty here, and it's great to see all these books up here from some of the authors who are here tonight. They are available for sale afterwards tonight, so please avail yourselves. We have 15, maybe 16 writers tonight, depending. I know they're not all here yet, but we need to get started because everybody needs to get out by 8 o'clock when we close. So every writer will have 5 minutes to read, and then at the end of those 5 minutes, you will hear this sound. Oh, of course, and now it goes quiet. Yeah, figures. Now when I need it. Now it's turned off. That's lovely. Oh, wanted to take a vote. Does anybody want a 2-minute warning in addition to the 5-minute? Looks like we're not going to have the 2-minute warning. Okay.
So much for Democrats.
But I put it out there.
But if we have one line left in the poll, make sure it's finished.
Well.
What's that?
No, but I mean like.
A 2-minute warning sound? I can't even make the 5-minute warning sound right now.
5 minutes, and then that's your wrap.
Thank you.
Of course.
If you have like an extra line or two.
Oh, that's okay.
That's what
At least you know, it's one
It's a
short.
little tighter than they do.
All right, now I can't even find the timer. Where did the timer go?
So.
There it is.
Pressure's on.
Stay overnight. No.
Starts.
He's got the water.
All
We're good.
right, resume, cancel.
The reception's.
All right, let's see if I can get this to make noise now.
Hate Marjo.
Oh, it's quiet again. All right. I'll hold up a hand or something and let you know when the 5 minutes.
You
Sorry
can do a
about that.
little
I don't know
beep,
what's going
beep,
on with
beep.
this now. It was fine all the way up until this moment.
I heard it.
All right, well, we are going to go in random order tonight according to the names that I pull out of the box, except for our very first writer, who is Patricia Conroy. She has lived in Phoenixville for just a few years. She and her husband, Paul, moved to this area from Abington to be near their son and his family, who are now only 5 minutes away. Patricia is a bird watcher, a writer, an avid reader, a nature photographer, a blogger, birdsandwords.com, and part of the Words in Progress Writers Support Group here at the library. She's written a children's picture book entitled Mockingbird Moon, which was published this past November, and I'm going to invite her up now, and she's going to start off by saying a few words about our Words in Progress group here at Phoenixville Library.
Whoa! Are you okay?
That was scary.
No.
I put my head. I put my head.
Everybody come up this way.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think we lost our volume. Oh,
Now we'll see. Did we?
it's green. No.
No.
Oh, we're good.
We're good.
Green is good.
We could have lost a lot more just there, frankly.
Yes, I think we lost our volume.
Just tell me when to start.
No, you're good. Whatever.
See if I can get this box to work. Folks on Zoom, oh, of course they can't hear.
Technology.
Oh, yeah. Sound. Oh, it's muted. All right, hang on, I can unmute it over here. Let's get this to stay up here. Please stay up there.
I won't touch it.
Oh, now it's, okay. Folks on Zoom, please keep yourselves muted. And, okay, thank you, take it away.
Hi, everyone. So Words in Progress is a writer support group that has been meeting here in the library on the third Saturday of each month from 1 to p.m. since September. We're taking a hiatus during July and August but you are warmly invited to join. I've been facilitating this lovely group of people since September. However, starting this coming September, we'll have a new enthusiastic facilitator, Sarah White. Sarah is new to our group, however. She hit the ground running with her impressive poetry, her good nature, and her leadership skills. At each gathering, everyone who wishes to read a piece that they are working on brings enough hard copies to share and then has the time to read aloud what has been prepared. This is followed by gentle, constructive criticism and suggestions. Just knowing that you're going to read your writing out loud to other writers, that alone encourages better writing. However, the collective effort of suggested edits can bring your writing to a higher level. New and inexperienced writers are encouraged to join. If interested, please sign up on the library website. So should I start, Mark?
Yes, go right ahead.
Now. This is called technology.
How appropriate.
The bad and the funny. My youngest child and I went off to school in September of 1980. Michael to kindergarten and me to college. Manor Junior College in Jenkintown was within walking distance of our home. And I started there part-time with some liberal arts courses, all of which I enthusiastically absorbed. However, I needed a viable major, one with the possibility of future income, which none of these had provided. So I dropped out for a year, but started again when Manor introduced an associate's degree in computer science. Our computers were all Apple IIe's, released in 1977 and designed by Steve Wozniak. There is no comparison, of course, to the technology that I now carry in my pocket, but high tech is relative. Our teacher, Jean Wertz, was brilliant. She came from a mainframe background where each computer filled a room, and she would regale us with stories of creating, editing, and storing programs line by line on punch cards. Jean could have taught anywhere, but here she was at Manor with a cohort of 11 young, smart, enthusiastic women and one not quite as young. We were a cohesive, hardworking group with little time for socializing. The internet was thrilling, and we were fascinated with its capabilities. A student reported that she was frustrated that when she was online the previous night, she was inundated with sexual content. They all agreed with that experience. I had never had that experience, and I told them so. One of my friends said, maybe you should try entering some questions after midnight. The topic doesn't need to be sexual, but trust me, that's what's going to happen. Against my better judgment, I decided to stay up past midnight for this little experiment. There I was, entering normal questions and receiving, much to my disappointment, normal answers. Getting bored and tired, I cut to the chase. I entered the word sex, all caps. Sure enough, I got this immediate response. What a loser. There you are, sitting by yourself in the middle of the night searching for sex on the internet. Get a life. Which ended forever, my quest for sex on the internet. Fast forward to 2024. I feel truly sorry for any woman today whose name is Alexa. We have 4 little Alexa dots around our house, and they perform a myriad of tasks for us. Turn lights on, turn lights off, keep our shopping list, wake us up, help us spell words correctly, and even find synonyms. If Alexa gets confused, it's okay to yell at her. Who cares? It's not like there's a little person in there. She doesn't care. Try it sometimes. She'll often apologize, which is more than I can say for many humans. My husband and I are devout bird watchers. We traded in all our bulky camera equipment for one new powerful little Sony with a compact zoom lens and video capabilities. A singular pristine bluebird landed gracefully and seemed to pose on our bird bath. Full screen and perfect focus. After taking some impressive photos, I pushed the red video button, begging the bird to please stay a while longer. 30 seconds of a bluebird so close, you could make out individual feathers and watch its tiny chest move with each breath. Unfortunately, I forgot that the video also had an audio component, so my perfect video ended up with this soundtrack. Please, little bluebird, don't move, just stay there. Wow, I'm getting such an amazing video. Oh, I'm not sure it's working. Oh, I'm so excited. And on and on. So I called my computer consultant, my 11-year-old grandson. He came over and instructed me to take another video outside He used the ambient noise audio from that video and switched it out so that my rants were history, which took him about 10 seconds. He's way out of my league. Without question, technology can be horribly frustrating. While writing this, I received a timely text from my son. Mom, your Facebook account has been hacked again. He also felt my Google account may have been hacked. However, as Stuart Brand, an 83-year-old writer, editor, and entrepreneur said, once a new technology rolls over you, if you're not part of the steamroller, you're part of the road, and I have no plans on being part of the road.
Besides Jim and Nancy, anybody else come in after we got started? Any other writers who did not write a ticket, put their ticket name on a ticket, raffle ticket? Oh, there, Gary is here, okay. So nobody else came in late? And just a reminder about the 5 minutes. 5 minutes starts as soon as you get up to the podium, and as soon as, if my timer goes off, or I say 5 minutes, then you just wrap up as soon as you can after that. Okay. Come on in, folks. Have a seat, please. Hate seeing you stand there. All right, our next writer looks like, yes, it is Chris Quarembo, an award-winning former news reporter who also worked as a speechwriter and ghostwriter for corporate executives in New York. Her debut novel, Killer Deals, was published in 2023. She's also the author of short stories in the crime and mystery genre. They're available as ebooks on Amazon. Chris is a member of Sisters in Crime and the Brandywine Valley Writers Group. When she's not reading or writing, Chris loves live theater, art museums, and travel, especially in France and Italy. She's also a volunteer docent at the Barnes Foundation, an early modern art collection in Philadelphia. Chris, welcome.
Thanks, Mark. I'm going to read a short story called Kill Fields. Kill Fees. Amelia Ingram was in a rush to make her train. She needed to arrive at the hotel before her target. She pulled on a chestnut brown wig to cover her blonde hair and slipped on a black dress. She tucked a small vial into her handbag, then sped out the door. On the train, she rehearsed tonight's job as the green leafy suburbs receded, replaced by gritty city streets. When she got off the train, she walked to the gleaming five-star hotel. Lucky for her, the accountant was a man of strict routine. He left his office at 5:15 every night and walked to the hotel bar. She waited, watching the revolving door. At 5:25, he arrived in a rumpled gray suit, his hair sparse, as colorless as his face. He was not a man to stand out in the crowd. For half a second, she almost felt sorry for the drag fool. But he was greedy. When he double-crossed the wrong people, powerful men operating on the margins of the law, who hired Amelia to solve their problem. She followed him into the bar. The after-work crowd sipped and mingled, creating a low buzz in the room, elegant in oak and brass. Her target nibbled on pretzels in a bowl by the bar. When the bartender brought him his Guinness, she squeezed in next to him and ordered a dry martini. She turned to the accountant. You'd think at these prices, the hotel would offer something classier than pretzels. He shrugged his shoulders and drank his stout. Amelia's drink arrived. She reached for her purse and spilled a fistful of coins. So sorry, she said to the bartender. She handed over a $20 bill. When the bartender turned to the cash register, she scooped up her coins and smiled at the accountant, a foam mustache on his upper lip. Excuse me, I think some of my money fell by your feet. The accountant, wiping foam from his mouth, leaned over, searching to the floor to his left. She scanned the bar. No one was paying any attention to her. She reached for the vial in her handbag and emptied its contents into his Guinness. Nothing here, lady, he said. He guzzled down 3/4 of his glass as though quenching a 4-day thirst. Oh, thanks so much for checking, she smiled. The bartender returned with her change. She left a tip and took her drink to a back table. She wanted to savor her drink, think of nothing else, but business came first, and she kept her eye on the accountant, who ordered another Guinness. She didn't need to wait long. A loud thud stopped the buzz of conversation. The accountant tumbled to the floor, splashing the dark liquid as he fell. "What the hell?" a customer at the bar cried out. The bartender reached for the phone. "I'm calling for help." Amelia knew the accountant was beyond help. She drained her glass, cleaned the glass, wiped the glass clean, and joined the onlookers. Paramedics arrived, and 2 started CPR, but one looked up at his colleague and shook his head. Amelia slipped out. Early the next morning, the nurse arrived, bathed and dressed Jeremy, then wheeled him into the living room by the window. Once Parkinson's disease entered her husband's career, Amelia opened a security consulting firm. Her CIA training attracted clients among wealthy executives wanting to keep their families safe. At first, she earned enough money to pay household expenses and medical bills. But she needed more, but how would she get it? The answer came when she helped a blackmail victim, a local TV anchorwoman who had already paid out $1 million but was still being harassed for more. "This man isn't going away," Amelia said, and quoted a fee. The blackmailer insisted on meeting in a secluded wooded area, which couldn't have worked out better for Amelia if she planned it herself. She arrived early, dressed in black, and took up a position behind a large oak. He showed up, confident, almost cocky. "So let me have it," he said. Gladly. She put 2 bullets in his chest. For a nanosecond, his face registered shock before he collapsed. She checked his pulse, then removed his ID, wallet, and credit cards, tossing them in the river on her drive home. Amelia solved her money problems with more kill fees. Her victims were scum, people who made other people's lives a living hell. She killed drug dealers, blackmailers, murderers, and embezzling accountants. Why did they deserve to live when her Jeremy, a man who never harmed a soul, was dying a slow, agonizing death?
5 minutes.
I have just another page.
Okay. Another page?
Well, but it's like a minute.
Okay, as quickly as you can.
Amelia sat holding Jeremy's hand. Pardon me, the day nurse had left and the night nurse hadn't arrived. Amelia kissed Jeremy, walked over to the dresser holding his medications, filled a syringe, then injected him. She climbed into bed at his side. It wasn't long before he stopped breathing. His face still expressionless. A month later, Amelia answered her doorbell. 2 men in baggy suits stood on the doorstep holding their badges. "Detectives from the DA's office," they said. "We're bringing you in for questioning in your husband's death." She stepped back as though someone had thrown cold water in her face. At their office, the detectives held up a bag with a syringe, with her fingerprints on it. She nearly laughed when she remembered fearing she'd make a mistake on a job, but that night, she hadn't thought of herself. The night nurse had told police a large amount of opiate was missing, so Jeremy's body was exhumed. The coroner determined death was caused by an overdose. Amelia received a 2-year sentence. That judge was too harsh, her son told her. "I knew it was wrong," she said, "but your father asked for help." "You always did like helping people, Mom. It's just your nature."
All right. Thanks so much. Cindy McGrarty, CJ McGrarty, former reporter for the Philadelphia Inquirer and a Pushcart Prize nominee with an MFA in creative writing. Her work has appeared in a variety of literary journals and magazines. Her debut novel, Clara in a Time of War, was published in 2022 by Atmosphere Press. Her second novel, The House on Chambers Road, a supernatural mystery set in the Philadelphia suburbs, is forthcoming from Literary Wanderlust. CJ.
Hello, thank you for coming. I'm going to read the first chapter of my forthcoming novel, The House on Chambers Road. It is a story about a haunted woman who moves into a haunted house in the Philadelphia suburbs. I was driving to an appointment with a new client on the outskirts of Sims the morning I first saw the house. It was a bright, blustery April day, and as I coasted down Chambers Road in my late husband's vintage Chevy, I was feeling exhausted and a little nervous. This my first appointment after returning to work. It had been 2 months since I scattered Ray's ashes over a hillside in Virginia, and I was wondering how I would cope with talk of shaker cabinets and farmhouse sinks, with the fog of my grief hanging heavy around me. I wasn't sure I was ready. Then suddenly I wasn't driving anymore. I was standing on a lawn, gazing up at the chalky white facade of a Georgian country house, and a woman's voice was asking, "May I help you?" I turned and saw her, a binder in her hand, her mouth pulled down in a frown, and at that moment I felt I'd awakened from a dream. "Oh, I'm not sure," I said. The woman pointed behind her to a driveway and a bronze sedan with 2 passengers inside. "I have clients here to see the house." In front of the sedan, Ray's sky blue Malibu idled, the driver's door wide open. I must have climbed out and left the engine running, but how could I? "I'm afraid showings are by appointment only," the woman said. She paused as if waiting for a reply. "If you'd like to move your car." "No, I don't need an appointment. You see, I do period design," and even as I fumbled to make my excuses, my gaze was pulled back to the house, where a second-story window was flickering. I made my apologies and hurried over the grass toward my car, the wind whipping my hair against my cheeks, bringing me back to myself. Only then did it sink in that the house was up for sale and the woman was a realtor, although there was no sign on the lawn. I slid into the Malibu and turned around up in front of a 2-bay carriage house and then coasted back to the street. As I continued on my way down Chambers Road, I tried to piece together the odd bits of what had just happened. I'd been driving along under the blinking sun, and a blank, a glitch in time, and then the odd pull of the house. Maybe it had caught my eye as I was passing by, and in a sudden fit of distraction, I pulled off the road for a better look. I've been so easily distracted since Ray died, my mind sliding from one thing to another untethered. Still, it wasn't like me to stop on my way to an appointment and risk being late. I pulled into my client's driveway and gathered up my purse and laptop. After the appointment, I would go back to Chambers Road and get another look at the house. Even through the haze of my confusion, I'd seen it was a fine example of a country Georgian, and I'd always loved the charms of 18th century style. When I got back to Chambers Road 2 hours later, I sat idling on the grassy shoulder with the window halfway down, gazing out at the house. Behind the post and rail fence and the wide carpet of lawn, it loomed bright in the midday sun, solid and implacable, like the keeper of some secret wisdom. The stucco was dingy here and there, and a black shutter hung loose on a first-floor window. But the dental cornice that rimmed the roofline was all intact, its white teeth set out in a perfect row. Under the cornice, the panes of the second-story window winked, the flickering I'd seen before. With the street deserted, I sat there a while longer. The massive old sycamore down by the road towered over the lawn where it stood, its limbs casting shadows in every direction. High above the house, a pair of hawks flew in lazy circles. It was quiet here and undisturbed, as if time had stopped, as if the centuries had passed and nothing had changed. My watch pinged noon. I'd promised Harry I would stop at Hong Ming for takeout. I pulled away from the curb, feeling certain that the house was not done with me, and I was not done with the house. Okay,
That was good. 20 seconds left. Good. All right. Next up is Bill Lambert, who was born in Bethlehem, PA, and grew up in that area. His career choice was drafting and design technology. In 1974, he lived and worked in Allentown when, totally by chance on a July Sunday afternoon in a tiny town in Virginia, he met Eileen Fleming, a middle school teacher who resided in Broomall. 10 seconds either way, and it never would have happened. They married in 1975, moved to Pottstown, then permanently to Phoenixville in 1978. His last position was with a large consulting engineering firm in Pottstown, from which he was laid off in 1990. Eileen retired in 1993, and from then until, something's missing. Until she passed in 2019, they traveled extensively. Bill's writing is about the wonderful life and times he and his lovely Eileen enjoyed in their 44 years of marriage. Bill.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. The first property Eileen and I owned was a second-floor condominium flat in a 7-year-old complex in Phoenixville. It was not what we aspired to as our ultimate home, but we had to vacate the house we were renting and the flat was reasonably priced and owner financed, so it made an excellent transitional solution. The snow clearing practice, complex-wide, is that the roadways and sidewalks are cleared by a contractor, and then the residents are obliged to dig out their cars themselves. One year, there was an 18 or 20-inch snowfall in the afternoon, starting in the afternoon and continuing through the next morning. After the snow stopped and the plow guy did his thing, Eileen and I grabbed our shovels and gear and ventured forth just as a neighbor couple also did. And after a brief greeting and chat, we started digging cooperatively, finishing at the same time to cheers and high fives. As we were returning to our unit, Eileen announced that she was about frozen and was going to take a hot shower to warm up. Upon hearing the bathroom door close and the water start, an urge hit me to play Mr. Cool. I poured 2 glasses of wine and put them and a couple lighted candles on the coffee table. Then I arranged some old newspaper, kindling, and light wood in the fireplace and lit it, and closed the glass fire screen doors. The fire burned through the kindling and went out. Grumbling as I did it, I opened the screen and I opened the screen and closed the glass, I'm sorry, I lost my place. And I arranged more kindling and paper and lit it and closed the doors, and the fire went out again. I waited a minute or so and opened the screen, releasing quite a puff of smoke. Then bleep, 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 the smoke alarm started blaring just as Eileen was getting dressed. From the bedroom came, "What the hell is going on out there?" "Oh, nothing. Everything's all right." As I'm opening the sliding door to the balcony and the living room and dining room area windows to air out the place. When she reappeared, I told her what happened, and we sipped our wine and shared an Afghan and a laugh, and all was forgiven.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. Is that, okay, that's Jeff. Yes, I can read your name. Jeff Mastroberti hails from New York City and has been living in Pennsylvania since 2002. He's read poetry at many venues, including libraries, bookstores, and churches, and has hosted poetry open mics in the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania area since the late 90s. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I guess in honor of Poetry Month, I'm going to do kind of like what I consider lyrical type poetry. First one's called Plantain. One of these days, I'm going to bake a plantain. I hope I get to do it before I go insane. It's sitting on the counter near the kitchen sink drain. I can't seem to get the right signals to my brain. One of these days, I'm going to own me a house where I could shove my dirty clothes underneath the couch. I will be as free as a wild field mouse as I stuff all my bills in the kangaroo's pouch. One of these days I'm going to bake me a pie. I'd throw in an onion, but I don't want to cry. I'd heat it up good so not to undercook. I'll turn it upside down because I read it in a book. I'm just saying what's entering my head. I'm definitely alive, 'cause I'm not dead. I ate the tuna pie, about all I could sustain. I knew I should have baked that giant plantain. That was about procrastination, really. There's a story behind it, but I don't have time to go into it. All right, this is called Kimberly, and she was a singer, and she was moving to California, so I wrote this before that. She will be leaving for the mountains in the spring, where I know she will find her destiny to sing. She could please a beggar without giving him a dime. Her words could make you shiver, they don't even have to rhyme. Her life's pouring out to us all as we watch the hidden tears behind the smiles that we catch. Her heart is wide open for all of us to see. The pain drifts away, returning like the sea. I cannot even tell you the energy revealed, at times a medium for all that have been healed. I urge you not to hide inside the gloomy cage. Don't you realize you're part of the new age? And this I wrote after 9/11, I guess. I haven't written anything lately, because I want to live while the living's still good. There's been a lot on my mind lately. It's all stored up, waiting for the next wave, waiting to explode into a million pieces of gold. My brain is under major repair, damaged by the raw stench in the air. Killer moon quenches my thirst, as he who dies fast will surely die first. The name of the Father is a name we know not, with weapons in hand and $1 per shot. The name of the game is the game we play well. In the name of the Father we kill to save face. In the name of the Father we kill to stop hate. In the name of the Father we reap what we sow. In the name of the Father our leaders take all. Let's see, a couple more. Oh, this is called spontaneity, which one of my favorite words because I'm spontaneous. There are over 100 million places to be at any given time. It's too draining to figure out where you want to be, where you're meant to be. Your destiny is waiting. That is why I take a deep breath, look up at the pale blue sky, and allow what we call spontaneity to take control. Let the energy flow through me, leaving me in places I never expected to be, expanding my world, people, places, life, and dreams. Stay away from the comfortable people, places, and things, and watch the energy flow through you, leaving you in places you never anticipated, expanding your world, people, places, life, and dreams. And I guess I'll do one more. This is a really quick one. It's like a little prayer, I guess. Thank you so much for blessing me, for allowing me to realize I have nothing to fear. Continue to guide me on the right path that will fulfill me, that will make it all clear. Blessed are those who discover their soul, who live for their dream, who pray to the one who set their mind, their heart, their fears, their souls free.
All right. Nancy Schwartz. Nancy teaches ELD in the Central Bucks School District. She holds certificates as an ELL program specialist, reading specialist, and elementary and early education educator. She enjoys ballet, reading, writing, art, animals, acting, music, and most of all, motherhood. Mrs. Schwartz is the published author of 3 books, which you can learn about on her website at www.upnotdownbook.com. Her newest book, The Mainline Mutt, is a picture book for children and was co-authored with her husband, Michael, who I believe is here tonight. It's about kindness and dogs. Nancy, take it away.
Hi, thanks for coming. So it's called The Mainline Mutt. It's about our dog that was a mutt named Maggie. And Maggie knew something was going on. All the things that were on the shelves were being packed in boxes. Maggie looked on as the last item, her dog bowl with the name Maggie printed on it in bright day-glow purple, was placed in a box. The kind people, Nancy and Michael, were moving to a lovely new neighborhood, the Main Line. As the last boxes and furniture were loaded into the truck and she was put in the white Honda Civic, Maggie, feeling sad, stuck her head out the half-open window glancing at her home one last time, Maggie would miss all of her friends, dogs, cats, and humans. As the car pulled away, Maggie barked, "Woof, goodbye," to all her friends. Pulling up to her new apartment, Maggie saw many dogs and felt better, knowing that she would be able to make a lot of new friends. After all the boxes were put into the new apartment, Maggie with Nancy and Michael took a walk in her new neighborhood. Maggie could not believe her eyes. The houses were enormous. The yards looked like small parks. In one of the yards was a gorgeous, big, brown dog, its nose pointed straight in the air. Maggie, wagging her tail and barking hello, bounded up to the big brown dog, who in a snobby voice said to Maggie, "I am a full-breed Newfoundland. My bloodline goes back over 100 years. What breed are you?" Maggie thought this was a strange question, as she'd never heard of breeds before. She only thought of herself as a happy dog. Maggie answered, "I don't know what type of breed I am. I'm just a happy dog." The Newfoundland said, "Oh, you're a mutt," and turned his nose up even higher and walked away. Maggie was feeling very sad. Here she was living in the nicest place imaginable, like a fairy tale story, but none of the dogs in the neighborhood liked her because she was a mutt. There was a big neighborhood fair going on. One of the events was a huge dog show. All the purebred dogs in the neighborhood were there. Maggie did not enter the show because she was a mutt. While they were being scored by the judges, the neighborhood dogs all stood around with their noses high in the air. As the judging was going on, Maggie stood off to the side. Suddenly, the judges saw her. Maggie went over to them and began wagging her tail and kissing them. Every snooty dog from the neighborhood looked on. All the purebred dogs were disgusted. The judges took out the French blue ribbon for best of breed. All the purebred dogs raised their noses, thinking they were going to win. The judges walked over to Maggie and put the giant French blue ribbon around her neck. The head judge announced, for the best of breeds, all breeds, Maggie the mutt. She's magnificent, utterly kind, terrific, and totally cute. Maggie was the happiest dog of them all. And now when Maggie walks around the neighborhood, she holds her head high and proud, her tail wagging. The other dogs are also friendlier to her. And that's our actual dog now, Calder. And he's named Calder because Michael loves Sculpture.
Very good, nice job. Teresa Werba is up next. She is the author of 7 books, 4 in poetry. Her work has appeared in such journals as the Scarlet Leaf Review, the Wilderness House Literary Review, The Art of Autism, The Road Not Taken, and the Society of Classical Poets Journal. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Vocal Music Performance from Skidmore College and a Master of Music with Distinction in Voice Pedagogy and Performance from Westminster Choir College. She is the joyful mother of 6 children and grandmother to 7. Find Teresa Werba at www.bardsinger.com and on social media at The Sonnet Queen. And on May 16th, find her here at Phoenixville Public Library doing a program about her new books.
I would so love it if you all would come. So I'm just going to give you a little taste of what I'll be talking about and sharing on the 16th. This is from, whoops, wrong book. This book is entitled When Adoption Fails, Abuse, Autism, and the Search for My Identity. Chapter 3, Growing Up Adopted. I've always felt that I was on the outside of a clear paned glass, looking in at activities within a functioning world, but not being able to get in or to participate. Yet to the viewer, at casual glance, it must have seemed as if I really could, since they didn't see the invisible barrier separating us. I wasn't one of those children who was quickly and briskly adopted from birth from a mother who perhaps never got to touch, let alone hold, smell, kiss, or nurse her baby. No. My birth mother, Bobby, wasn't just a conduit for the fulfillment of dreams that belonged to a richer, more affluent mother. She had been my mother, young as she was, mustering all her nearly 17 years to try and to want me and to keep me. I had been with her for a bit over 2 months before she gave me up. And when she did, I began what was a series of asthmatic attacks and lung conditions, which abated only when I was finally adopted into the Arlick home. I do think I mourned her death as a baby. I remember being cold. Inside of me are those cries of panic and fear, and they've never left me. Even in middle age, I can almost remember some remote sensation of being alone in the cold, crying every time I get into a hot bathtub. Thank you. The next little excerpt is from this book, which is, if you know anybody that's in an abusive relationship, or if you're in one, please see me, okay? Because this is what it's for. My goal is to, warning signs of abuse, get out early and stay free forever. Chapter 1, the web of abuse. It is that spark of vulnerability, that something that allows for the connection to happen, the meeting of the emotional stars. It may seem so satisfying and curious at first, but it is more than anything you may have had before, and maybe in some ways it is better. The intensity of it, the rush, the speed, the love talk, the love act. Doesn't it all happen so fast? Within the speed is the dangerous whirl, that spinning vortex that before you can climb out of it, you have begun to be sucked into it. It happens when you are caught in the moment of the thrill and the chase, that you do not see that the vortex is turning and you yourself are turning and turning. But what was it that drew you in? That spot, that place of vulnerability, that area in the heart that likes being flattered and charmed and made to feel that beautiful and important or valuable. And the last is, this is my, I'm gonna brag just a little, this is my magnum opus. This is, just came out. What was and is formal poetry and free verse. This is 40 years of poetry that I have carefully codified, and I'm very, very happy about it. It's one of the most beautiful things ever. So I hope that you enjoy this poem it's a sonnet called "Oh When I Hear." Oh, when I hear the plaintive, painful sound of music played within a minor key, or modal scales in doleful reverie, suspensions and its dissonance abound. A juxtaposing light and dark around a center of discordant harmony, combined with the most weeping melody, is where a truth so sacred may be found. For it is in the ebbing resolution, when tensions ease and struggling is at rest, that one can find a consonant conclusion and peace from pain residing in the breast. For suffering can be of benefit if acquiescing music's made through it. Thank you.
All right.
I have some proof copies of various books, and I'd love, everything is free on my table tonight, so please come on the table in that little corner. So if you're interested in anything, please come and see me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, thank you. Oops, I just got rid of my timer. Before we continue, is George Reitenauer, are you here tonight, George? George is not here, okay. All right, who do we have next? We have Dan Erdman. Dan is a geologist and principal of an environmental consulting firm he founded 20 years ago. When not writing technical documents, he writes poetry, an activity he's dabbled in for several decades. He's still organizing his collection for publication, just like we've told you about him for the last 5 or 6 times he's presented here at Phoenixville Library. He asks that if any of his fellow writers here tonight have any advice for publishing, please talk to him this evening.
And I see that some of you will. So
Yes.
Looking forward to speaking with you. First piece here is called Morning Walk Blues. Let's walk this morning, she said, on the trail along the ridge to the top of the mountain. And I said, let's wait until it's warmer. Why, she asked. Don't you like walking? The day will get warmer as we walk. Okay, I said. And she said, but we can wait until the fog rises, so that we may see across the valley as we ascend. Why, I asked. Don't you like the mysteries behind the mist? The fog will rise when we reach the top of the mountain, and we will be able to see across the valley on the way back. And the walk will seem as if we journeyed two paths. This second one is half true and half fantasy. I'm not going to tell you which is which because I really remember it. It's called Shoe Repairs. If you are going away and you need someone to babysit your giraffe, ask Nick. He's been in the shoe repair business for decades, runs his disheveled shop in town where the solvents and the glues he breathes all day have warped his mind. Tell him it's just a long-necked dog, and he won't charge you anything extra. He may ask you where you are going, and if you tell him England, he's likely to tell you that he is a friend of Princess Diane, and that he's fixed her left high heel, but has been waiting on her to come back before he fixes the right one. But don't tell Nick that Princess Di is dead, because he enjoys wandering his shop after hours, thinking of her and looking for her right high heel. My wife hates getting her shoes repaired at Nick's, as do most of the other women in our neighborhood. But his is the only shoe repair shop within 20 miles. The shoe repairs are never done on time. And when the women go to pick up their order, he just stares at their breasts, grins, and tells them that he is so behind on his work because the princess has broken her heels and she needs them repaired immediately, and to please come back next week. I went to Nick's shop myself once when my wife asked me to pick up her shoes and to spare her the uncomfortableness. For me, the repairs were done. He handed me the right one, and it took Nick forever to find the left shoe, while I waited and became quite dizzy from the solvent and glue fumes. And so I stumbled from his shop, and I bought a giraffe from a woman on the side of the road whose traveling circus was leaving town. She was statuesque, about 7'2" in her circus platform heels. She said the circus needed the money for gas. I grinned stupidly at her breast as I paid her, but it was a British accent that really knocked me out. And being this is Earth Day, I figured I'd do something earthy, and I got a series of haikus from one of my favorite places to hike around here, which is one of the Natural Lands Trust sites. So I'll just read a couple of these 17-syllable things until Mark tells me time's up.
Got a minute and a half.
Okay. Brook babbles blues beneath thin ice. Willow branches rush the earth's drum. Snow melts, crocuses bloom, swollen buds on red maples, slow striptease of spring. Spring's stream flows in the key of C, reeds on the bank swing in harmony. A beech tree is seldom struck by lightning, shelter in a summer storm. Stood still on his oft-walked trail, never been here before, new leaves on trees. Stood still aside the beech tree, never been here before, new chill and clouds. Stood still beside the beech tree. Never been here before. Brown beech leaves twirl. Stood still beside a beech tree. Never been here before. New breeze and bees.
Looks like Craig Gussman is next. Craig Gussman first decided to be a writer around 8 years old. Back then he wrote about time machines, werewolves, and space travel. Now he writes about time machines, werewolves, and space travel, but with more nuance. He currently lives just a hair outside Philadelphia with his wife, son, and 2 cats. He blogs, posts monthly stories, and keeps the internet flush with cat pictures at www.craiggussman.com. Craig.
Thank you. I'm going to read 2 poems from a book of short stories. That's okay. The first is called Your Anger. The droplets of sweat at the edge of his receding hairline boil away under the heat of your anger. I think about how one day we're all going to die, and the moments like these, the small moments of emotion that daily seep from our souls like a slow drip, and over time spill out from our eyes and our mouths in great waves of crying and yelling, don't mean anything at the end. I wonder, as you sit and radiate your loathing, so red in the face, so warm to the touch, if you'll even remember this in a year's time. Or, more likely, if this is one more forgotten footnote in a reference book written in a different era, when we were young, and is nary consulted except for when we need a hit of nostalgia like he needed a hit of nicotine. The term of your anger has always impressed me. Your rage is a closed loop. Emotion made perpetual motion. You pace, holding yourself and trembling. I feel the energy inside of you seep into the room. You are ready to explode. I know all of this of you because I feel it too. We are helpless watching our father gargle his last few pained, wheezing, cancerous breaths, like a man slowly drowning. I check off all the same tired cliches as you. He's too young. I'm not ready to lose him. He did this to himself. It's not fair. And just like you, I reach the same conclusion. Just die already. For there is a part of us beneath the anger that is bored and fed up with the inconsideration of someone who makes you wait for him to die. I could be writing or gardening or something that feels productive. You could be dancing or drinking or whatever it is you like best. At a minimum, we could not be thinking these thoughts in a shit-smelling hospital room on a weekday afternoon. Yet here we are. We watch our father's emaciated soul drain from his body without even a cup to catch the drops. Instead, our anger evaporates the damn thing into the air, lost, until it eventually disintegrates into its base molecules, and like his decomposing body, rejoins the earth, and is remade into something new, and one can hope something better. The funny thing is my father's not dead. I'm just mad that he might be. This is called Say Something New. It's a little bit lighter. Pour the ink down your throat. Spit words onto the page, pull them from deep in your gut. Soak your hands in the ink and bile. Swirl the concoction, look at what you've done, what's been created. Something new? No. Something unique? Also no. But something with feeling. And as the ink dries on paper and mouth, you'll have connected to something more than yourself. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all there is. Thank you.
Good to have some new faces with us this go-round, too. Jim Sassaman is next. James F. Sassaman is a novelist whose book Dempsey's Diner is currently being submitted to literary agents. Framed by Watergate, it is a late adolescent coming-of-age novel depicting the end of the hippie era. His current novel in progress, working title Two Virgins, is a teenage romance between star-crossed lovers during the late 60s. James.
Thank you. This is from Two Virgins. Announcement is finally coming over the PA, and we hear our principal, Tusky, Attention! All members of the junior class are directed not to go to their scheduled classes next period. Instead, all juniors are to report to room 200 for a class assembly. This assembly will be conducted by Mr. Fox. Thank you. I look into the 200-seater theatrical room and see Mr. Fox at the podium. He nods, and I nod in return. After the entire class is here, he speaks into the microphone. The faculty has called this assembly. Dan McGuire has something to tell you. Since Foxy steps away from the podium, I take that as my cue. They have no idea what I'm about to say, but I do. Some of you are aware that I was called into the principal's office this morning. We had a friendly conversation about my receiving some demerits over the past 3 years, as some of you have. I was told there's a faculty committee following all student politics here at Aquinas. The committee members were not identified except for Mr. Fox. Our principal pointed out that Mr. Fox abstained from voting about my nomination. By their vote, I am barred from nomination because I wear black leather jackets after school, and the length of my hair is not the image that the Archdiocese wants. We must look at this in two ways. Not only am I barred from being nominated, you are barred from nominating. Now I'm telling everybody here I'm running for senior class president, and I'm also running for one of the student council representative seats. I sought election because I believe in telling it like it is. As class president and council representative, I will be. Demerits were discussed this morning. Several of you have been sent to detention, as I have. For those of you who are not familiar, our student handbook provides that 10 or more demerits lead to detention on Saturdays, just as long as any school day. Guys must wear sport coats and ties, and girls must wear their uniforms. It takes place right here, room 200, with one faculty member in charge. We're told there's no talking and no reading. Then the faculty member leaves, but not before telling us that the microphone will be left on and any talking will be heard in the faculty offices. Makes you wonder whether somebody's listening to us right now. Did I talk in detention? Not much. Did I read? Yes. After all, this is an educational institution. Since I was on ice for the day, I read Eldridge Cleaver's Soul on Ice. Eldridge Cleaver is a leader in the Black Panthers, and he tells it like it is. So did Lenny Bruce, and so do I. That's how you get the message out. And getting the message doesn't require words. Messages can get out by photographs, like the summary execution of that handcuffed Viet Cong prisoner during our freshman year. Snub-nosed gunshot right to the temple during the tent offensive. Or, just 1 month ago, that girl at Kent State crying over the body of a dead student, one of the Vietnam War protesters gunned down by the National Guard. We've seen the impact of Vietnam photographs right here in room 200. That envelope which was passed around by somebody a few months ago, the one which read war photographs, may make you sick. Some of you looked and would agree that one picture stood out. I'm no photographer. I just believe in telling it like it is. This class being barred from nominating one position opens up by being nominated for 2 others. I would appreciate your votes. Now I walk away from the podium and I hear Foxy at the microphone. Assembly is dismissed. Dismissal comes as a surprise, with some bolting out and others talking. 2 cheerleaders from last night call out and stop me in the aisle. Dad, if we can't vote for you, who should we vote for? You can vote for the Pope. I'll take a seat on the student council. Pope's better than the other candidates. The Pope and I have always been rivals, but we've always been friends. When he found out I was challenging him, he took my hand and wished me good luck. None of this tomfoolery today is his doing. On the way out, I received handshakes and voting assurances. When I reach the back, I run into Mr. Fox. Now it's Foxy who extends his hand. That took a lot. I knew it was coming, but I couldn't say anything. That envelope with Vietnam photographs, you mentioned one stood out. What was it? Decapitation. 6 detached Vietnamese heads being held up by another Vietnamese, 3 heads in each hand. Foxy starts caressing his goatee, which I've seen him do many times studying actors during rehearsals. The impact is his face, I explain. not their dead faces. He's looking at the camera with his head cocked to one side and the widest and most proud smile you've ever seen.
5 minutes.
You don't get that on the Huntley Brinkley Show. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. CJ Hedrick is next. CJ is 36 years old and processes invoices at a disaster relief company in Exton. His first ebook, The Murata Legacy Ragnarok, is live on Amazon.com, and he's having his second book edited. This, however, is an excerpt from his fourth book, still in the alpha stage, simply called Miles Hawk for the time being. CJ.
Thank you. In the meeting room, Tina stood by the screen, which hummed to life. I'll need more time and research to look into the inner workings of the Malurian Armada, she said. But for the time being, here's a general overview of the Supreme Seven. Fine with me, Miles said. A minute later, the image of a powerful man appeared on the screen. His blonde hair was slicked back, and he wore a navy blue long coat. So, Tina said, the Supreme Seven, the seven-headed hydra that imposes the will of the Empress. Chief of them is this man, Grand Admiral Walter J. Lysander. In terms of political influence, he's second only to the royal family. In terms of power, Miles said, he's second to none. Even back when Griswold commanded my respect, he spoke about Lysander in the same way you'd speak of your childhood nightmares. He also knows how to harness or a calcum energy to enhance his strength. The rumor has it he completely overpowered Griswold in a physical fight, Valdez said. But rather than execute him, he gave Griswold the chance to serve Mallory as a privateer to replace the tired Admiral Hartwell. Lysander is not a wasteful man, Tina said. He harnesses talent, even when it's used against him. Now, moving on to Eugene Gallagher. The man on the screen had a short navy blue jacket, short black hair, and sunglasses. Admiral of the First Fleet, Tina said, and Chief of Weapons Research and Development. An explosion during the first half of the Malurian-Dusalat War left him with severe burns. He was so horrified by his imperfect appearance that, rather than waiting for healing and plastic surgery, he transferred his mind to an android body. They say his eyes are off-putting and uncanny, hence why he hides them behind sunglasses. He doesn't have any human troops under his command, Valdez said. Just a series of automated vessels that all move to his will. He can change an entire fleet's formation with a single thought. Yes, his defensive ship formations are feared throughout Polygaia. And then there's Maxwell Erickson III, Admiral of the Second Fleet, and second youngest to hold such a title. The man on the screen was short and fat, with a pouting, pudging cheeks and a pencil-thin mustache. He wore a frilly white shirt under an open long coat. That propaganda cites it was his groundbreaking tactic of firing heavy artillery within city walls to suppress riots that earned him his position. But it's rumored his family connections and wealth were the impetus. He's no warrior, but he has all the best equipment, weapons, and tanks money can buy. And the best loot, Miles said with a grin. Seriously, he was our favorite target, slow to react and full of presence. Next is Josephine Valentine, Tina said. The woman on the screen had long red hair and a beauty that shone through her wrinkles in a medium-length jacket. Admiral of the Third Fleet and head of the Ministries of Negotiation and Information. That's a lot of hats to wear, Lubaya said. Indeed, she negotiated many more successful treaties and trade routes, but when she can't get her way, her troops slip in and quietly assassinate opposition and steal important secrets and files. Moving on, there's Esteban Rojas. Their man had dark skin and white mutton chops with a pith helmet and a robotic monocle. Admiral of the Fourth Fleet, Tina said, and Vice Commander of the Army. His fleet specializes in a 1-2 punch of aerial and ground troops. The Fourth Fleet, Valdez said. Their patented trench leap was a nightmare in every battle it showed up in. What's that? Dubai asked. It goes like this, Valdez said, pressing a few buttons on the screen's panel, showing a map of the area outside the city. First, a gunboat fires a special laser that burns straight across the field, creating a trench. Before the dust settles, the invaders on the ground ship divert their energy to shields and charge, while the other half use powerful rifles for covering fire. Then the two forces switch roles as advancers and snipers, and the process repeats until they leapfrog their way to the city wall. That seems overly complicated. Why not just land closer to the wall? I assume this is a tactic for cities with powerful anti-air defenses, Miles said. The landing craft starts outside fire range, and the gunships, in theory, move fast enough they'll dodge the anti-air defenses. Once the soldiers reach the city, they could, theoretically, shut down the shields and cannons so the fleets can begin bombardment. Ah, but there's another side to it, Valdez said. They're also scorching the earth as they charge. An unspoken statement of, we'll burn everything and anything in our path to get what we want. It's psychologically scarring. And now the head of the Fifth Fleet, Tina said. The brown-haired young man had a crew cut, a bulky eye patch that bore the Malurian standard, and a short jacket he wore as a cape with a pair of metal gauntlets. The Nolan Lysander, the adopted son of the Grand Admiral and youngest to reach his rank. Nolan uses orichalcum energy like Lysander himself. He not only recruits people exclusively from Maluria's dark side, but he trains them using orichalcum as well.
5 minutes.
You know what, I'll just leave it at that.
All right. It's always great for the variety of genres represented here tonight. All right. Well, Gary Zenker is up next. Gary, it's a miracle. Unfortunately, I don't have your bio on here because
It's okay.
I didn't think you were going to be here. So say a few words about yourself and then
Gary
go
writes
ahead with
stuff.
your reading.
Stick with this, you'll get it. That smell. It's obvious that little Johnny's diaper is full and needs changing. I don't see him, but he's in the room somewhere. I start to yell for him and my wife Myra, but my voice comes out as more of a harsh bark. How long have I had this cold? A week? 2? I can't remember. Maybe it was when I gave little Johnny my keys to play with. Kids that age are walking crap. What's the word for it? You know, that thing in a lab where they all grow germs on purpose. Anyway, kids are germ carriers. At one point I was sick for a year, right after he started daycare. I thought I had the big A, or cancer or something. I've never been so sick in my life. That I could remember anyway. I smell the dirty diaper again. The chair's comfy and I really don't feel like getting up. There's a guy sitting across from me. He looks kind of familiar. Are you okay? He asks me. I nod. My throat is still sore. I see my cup with a blue straw on the table beside me. I reach over, but without my glasses I misjudge the distance and knock it to the floor. The liquid spreads out in all directions. Petri dish! That's the word, Petri dish. That's okay, I'll get that, the man says and asks, how was your nap? Fine, I croak as he grabs half a box of tissues. Have you seen Myra? She's here somewhere, the guy says, and he wipes up the spill. I remember that yesterday. She came back from the store with moon pies and a cake for little Johnny's birthday. She needed a new box of candles since we couldn't find any of the old ones. 13 going on 30, she joked, and she's right. I don't tell her that before she returned with the cake I caught him smoking out in the garage. I tell the man, she needs to change little Johnny's diaper, it stinks. Myra hates changing diapers, says the smell makes her gag. Who ever heard of a mother who doesn't change diapers? Pain in the ass, that's what it is. Sometimes I just wait her out so she's forced to do it. The young man stands up and throws the used tissues in the trash can. Thank you, I tell him. He walks to my bureau and picks up an object. It's a paperweight that my boy got me on a field trip to the Smithsonian in the 6th grade. A fish in a lucite block. It's now completely clouded and broken in half. But Johnny was excited that he brought it home for me, so I kept it. Don't worry, it was broke before, I tell the familiar guy. You didn't do it, someone gave it to me. But it's old, like me. Old, like me? When did I get old? I still don't remember that exact moment. I'm gonna have to go back to the job soon. It's been a nice vacation, but have you seen Myra? I ask. She's around somewhere, he says, but he doesn't look for her. Tell her I'm ready to go to the restaurant. They don't have room service at this hotel, do they? He hesitates before answering me. I don't think so. Johnny boy, I say and look at him. He smiles back at me. He grew up handsome. It's okay, I tell him. It's nice of you to come out all this way to see your old man. You know, your mom talks to me in my dreams. She's watching over us. She told me so. Johnny starts to tear up a little. I want to stand up and hug him, but these old legs of mine are practically useless. I'm in a home, aren't I? He nods. The room is confusing. It's not my living room, but it's familiar. It's got some of my stuff. Photos of the family, Myra, little Johnny, and me together. I forget who took that one. That guy standing in my room is holding the fish block little Johnny gave me. Hey you, put that down, that's mine. My son gave that to me. He stares at me a second, then puts it back down on the counter. Look, you broke it. My son gave that to me and you broke it. Go on, get out of here. He looks at me a minute and starts talking gibberish. I'm mad. A lady enters my room without knocking and whispers to him. They're talking about me, I know it. Get out of here, both of you. Why do you people keep walking into my place? I ought to call the police. Leave! I scream as loud as I can and start coughing so hard my back hurts. They look at me and finally leave. I try to push myself up from the chair, but I'm so tired I can't manage it. I see the broken gift on the counter and start to cry. Damn strangers come in here and steal my stuff or break it. They're not going to take my memories too.
Cass Sobey is up next. CK, Cass Sobey, continues a life steeped in curiosity. In 2020, Cass retired from her professional businesses to spend more time re-envisioning the next phase of her life. She's lived in the Valley Forge area of Pennsylvania since 1999. You can find her cooking up a new recipe in her kitchen or writing her weekly post, From My Chair to Yours. Her newest book is Outpourings, Volume 2, Musings, Wool Gathering, and Ghosts. CK's writing, yes, on the table up there, CK's writing has been featured in the Reflectionary, Publishers Weekly, Reader's Views Inside Scoop, and the Midwest Review. 100 Words published a short story in December called The Husband. Read more about CK, her books, and her posts at www.innerharvesting.com or www.cksobey.com. Reach out to her at cassobey@gmail.com. Cass.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I tried my hand in a monologue, so we're in a theater now. Right? Mrs. Rushenko is an 80-year-old woman from Eastern Europe. She arrived in the United States from a once war-torn village when she was young and pregnant. She's always walked with a cane, very erect and with elegance. Her right leg was irreparably damaged before leaving for the United States. She's talking to her granddaughter, Colleen, a budding teenager. Colleen doesn't know she's her granddaughter yet. A thunderstorm is rapidly approaching. Her home is an older, more grand style, resonating old world richness. Colleen is banging on the front door. Mrs. Rushenko watches wide-eyed as she opens the door and Colleen enters, nearly hysterical. Come in, my love. What has happened? Did you say there were shadows chasing you? Come here, next to the fire. Calm down. Breathe. That's right. In and out. Slowly. Go curl up in the chair. What? Yes, I'm going to bring my fur coat and cover you with it. Colleen calms down and is mesmerized by the fire. And Mrs. Rushenko speaks. Let me tell you a story, my darling. No, you haven't heard it before. This is a special story just for you today. I promised your parents I would share this part of my history with you when you got older, and you are ready to hear it now, my darling. In my village where I grew up, the honey that was produced was very special. It was known for its taste, but more important were the healing qualities of the honey. Yes, sweetheart, of course you may have some, but later. I will dribble it on your dessert as you like. Hush now as I continue. My family looked after the bees and their honey for generations. There was something unique about our honey, certain qualities it possessed from certain flowers we grew on the land, our land. We shipped vast quantities all over the region. So many were near starving during the years of the great conflict. Eating it kept them alive. There were those that wanted to destroy our bees. On stormy nights like tonight, I took care of my grandmother when I was a young girl, like you. Her daughter, my mother, would go out to the bees to calm them during storms. I can hear my grandmother calling my name over and over, yelling it to me. Quickly, hide the bees, they are coming. My family always hid the bees from the invaders. These trespassers would set the bees on fire to stop us from harvesting their honey. You are my granddaughter, Colleen. Your mother is my daughter. I was pregnant with your mother when I left my home, and something happened to me during an insurrection in my town months before I was to leave. My leg was tragically damaged. The doctors would have cut it off, but for the honey. My father brought me home, and he and my mother massaged our honey into the deep wound several times each day. After some time, I could walk with a cane, and shortly after, I went to the airport and boarded my flight to this country. The honey saved my leg. Really, it was the bees that saved my leg. What? What, dearest? Yes, I brought something magical home, here with me to the United States. I brought the essence of the bees. And when I arrived, I purchased this home. Soon after, a large container with several beehives was shipped from my father. Perhaps it is folklore, perhaps not, but it is said that the bees remember, that they have a memory for certain events and people. You have a feeling for the bees as well, Colleen, a gift and skill that visits the women in this family every other generation.
5 minutes.
Your mother doesn't have it, but understands and respects our history. My mother didn't have the gift either. My grandmother did. And being my granddaughter, it is now your future, as it was mine. The history is yours as well. And history can repeat itself. Tonight, it is repeating itself. The shadows that frightened you were there to alert you, to warn you. They were the bees. Help me, my dearest. Quickly, help me hide the bees. They're coming.
Cass also facilitates our monthly afternoon at the movies here at Phoenixville Library. All right, 3 to go. All right, we've got, who is this? Shelley? Who is Shelley? I don't know who that is.
Shelley was a visitor.
Oh.
She left.
Okay, 2 to go.
I'll let her know you inquired.
Well, yeah, she wasn't supposed to put her name on it. Paul Collaro. P.A. Collaro was born in the Bronx, New York, and studied American literature at Iona University. He and his family have lived in Chester County for 30 years. His new book of short fiction, Not Down in Any Map, has just been published. His stories have appeared in the Mule Skinner Journal, Umbrella Factory Magazine, and Bloom. Take it away.
Thank you, Mark. This is an excerpt from one story in my book. It's titled Number 2 White Street. It's about an old man, a billionaire, and a 200-year-old secret. 76-year-old Calvin T. White ran his hand across the ragged edges of the brick wall. His dark brown skin contrasted with the dingy painted surface. Both he and the modest 2-story white brick and clapboard house had been roughened by age, by neglect, and by the ease in which the world ignores or even abuses things and people that have earned admiration or even reverence. His son Randolph handed him an exquisite leather portfolio with a large W embossed on its cover, which Calvin pressed to his chest. Calvin's wife was gone now, but his grandchildren would soon see this, and that brought tears to his eyes. Together, the two stood silently for a long while in something close to prayer. 7 hours earlier, and 16 miles to the north in his Bronx apartment, Calvin awoke, opened the window shades, walked across the now sunlit green linoleum floor of his bedroom, past the hallway window darkened by the proximity of a brick wall outside, and into his bathroom. He studied his ragged face in the mirror. In any cast of light, whether the harsh fluorescent above his mirror or the darkened shadow of a brick wall, Calvin T. Wright saw an obscurity, an irrelevant character in a book no one cared to read. He'd arrived unceremoniously on a rag-covered mattress in a New York tenement 76 years ago, and he was certain that he would depart this life at his appointed time, having contributed nothing of consequence to the world, offering no legacy, and bearing nothing of distinction to leave behind. He ironed his white shirt and he put it on. His arthritic fingers struggled with the buttons. He straightened his tie in the mirror and dusted off his suit jacket. He looked again at the letter he'd received from the attorney and tucked it into his suit pocket. As he walked out of his third-floor apartment, he stopped on the stairway to pet the neighbor's cat, Rodney. He pulled from his suit jacket a small plastic bag of cat treats that he always carried with him should he come across Rodney lounging on a radiator or attacking raindrops as they slid down the hallway window. He stepped out into the bright sunshine, crossed 187th Street, and walked toward Fordham Road and the steps that led to the elevated train tracks. He boarded the number 4 train, headed downtown to Manhattan, where he would meet his son Randolph and the attorney from Schumacher and Lang. Calvin exited the train in unfamiliar territory at 86th Street and Lexington Avenue. He met Randolph at the end of the littered platform. As they hugged, Randolph unabashedly kissed his father on the cheek, a profound gesture of affection passed down by the Wright men ever since Calvin watched his father kiss his grandfather. "Dad, can I see the letter?" Randolph read the letter silently. "It's the same as when I read it to you over the phone," Calvin said. "No details, just a bunch of legalese about some confidential matter that requires my attendance. I just hope it's not a problem with my pension. Don't worry about it. You just let me handle it." They walked up the steps, finding themselves in the posh Upper East Side of Manhattan. Each was dressed in a suit and tie of their own vintage. Randolph's charcoal gray pinstripe, a standard wardrobe for his work as the branch manager of a local bank. Calvin's was brown, with wide lapels, purchased 20 years earlier. It was his only suit, and was worn proudly at all family events. He looked dapper at Randolph's wedding, pious at the baptisms of his 3 grandchildren, and inconsolable at his wife's funeral. Today, its worn elbows belied the grace in Calvin's steps, as he and his son walked to the Fifth Avenue address noted in the letter. The grand 5-story limestone building stood across from Central Park in the affluent shade of broad elm trees that such a building required. A doorman, surprised by their approach, welcomed them and led them across the ivory terrazzo floor to the concierge desk, where, with letter in hand, Calvin and Randolph were announced on a private telephone to an attorney waiting for their arrival upstairs. Burnished bronze elevator doors opened, and they were escorted to the palatial 4th-floor tawny oak library of the late Curson P. Carlyle.
All right. And last but not least, George Reitenauer, who is with us tonight. Yes, contrary to popular belief, George has written poetry for 46 years. He is a lawyer, married to audiologist Melissa Reitenauer. His 2 children, is a member of Royersford Baptist Church, Oddfellows, and Anthroposophical Society, and has lived in the Kimberton, Spring City, Parker Ford area for most of his life. George.
Hello. I left I'm starting a poetry book club. I left some little handouts there in the back. anybody who knows poets who'd be interested in reviewing books, there you go. Photo. There's a shot of your soul in the upstairs room. You never grew old, never grew old. It was taken that day I was falling for you, when rainbows were crying for gravity's doom, and time fell apart as I left the room where you never grew old, never grew old. At the window, a statue, your angel stands guard. It never grew old, you never grew old. I stand in the yard looking up at the ward where you never grew old, never grew old. Gap lives. On nights when the stars are still visible, you can discern the form of the miserable constellations. Most of them got where they are through death, lost love, their jobs, or war. And this is how we find our directions to the land of no dimensions, where oh so many went to live out their gap lives. Carrying their cells, the prisoners, shackled to seesaws suspended in space, fall with their saws through black hole after black hole, souls like the scream, but without expression of surprise at their discovery, negation. Everything. A boy in blue has his hands at chest height holding a fishing pole. Pine Creek turns here at Big Meadows to run down into the gorge, Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania. The hatch clouds my view from across the creek. Here, a trout streaks out of water, open-mouthed to take one down. The other flies still dance. The boy points and calls to his little sister to look, but it's all already gone. He is 94, and his son is signing papers for him. The social worker's voice wheedles through water. He loses his place in the place of thought, but still holds his hand at chest height over his heart, which beats him relentlessly from within, for having forgotten too little, just everything. 3 haiku. We'll end it. Swim on, Swedish fish. Swim on, Swedish fish. Whoosh, wish, whoosh, swish, Swedish fish. Whoosh, swish, Swedish fish. Okay. Slow-mo. Yellow finches fly through gaps of scarlet oak. Fast finch flight. Slow-mo oak. Nothing to say. Sun sets, still breathing. This body given sits. I have nothing to say.
How fitting to end our proceedings tonight with poetry for National Poetry Month. Thank you, George. And thank you, everyone, all our writers tonight for participating. You participated, you're on my email list, so you'll be notified about our next open mic night. Plenty of time for you to mingle. Check out the books for sale by some of our authors on the table tonight. Enjoy some pretzels, even though they're not. Who was it that said they were not sophisticated? Yeah, pretzels and cookies. Thank you all for coming, and thank everybody on Zoom as well.
Friday's movie.
Thanks,